13 love, 13 knowledge, 13 wisdom, 13 respect. This is your creation 13. Alright, so there's two things that caught my eye for this weekly global report. One of them is what's surrounding Yemen right now. I think is how you pronounce it. And then other thing about this Japanese earthquake. And it's hard to say this one thing I'll show you if it's fake or not, but it definitely brought my attention to some mythological creatures in the past, as well as talking about the seven-headed dragon in Revelations. It's very interesting. So we're going to go ahead and get started on it real quick and go from there. So if you do just a little bit of research on Yemen right now, you can kind of get a general idea on what's going on here. So the US is heavily involved in this area, and it's interesting because it's having to do with the Red Sea, and of course there's stories about the Red Sea, but as you can see here, just US just continues to go around. But here's something interesting. So it says that there's rebels in Yemen. Rebels. Okay. So I'm like, is it really that way? Usually when a country comes into play, and it's not just see, Red Sea, it's not just the US, but the UK was getting involved too. Yeah, right here. US and UK, the United Kingdom. So that gets interesting. But do these look like rebels to you? Because to me, it does not. And we're not going to play sound, but just look at this. Look at this. Millions of people. They say these guys are rebels. And as you watch this, they don't look like rebels to me. They look like they're uniting as a people. Uniting as a people. Look at this. They're all nicely organized together. They're holding their flag. This was interesting. A group of people that are dressed in blue, which leads me to believe that maybe that if you looked up from the sky, they're actually saying something from above. But yeah, does this look like rebel protesters? Nope. They know exactly what they're doing. They're calm and peaceful people, and they're mad. Why are other countries involving themselves in this? The fall of the empire, we'll look at history here in a second, was around, I think, after 1990, things kind of went downhill after that. But, yeah, those people do not look like rebels to me. They're very peaceful, and they're standing up, wondering why two countries are going in. Because they want to be free. United States, why aren't you doing this? Around the world, why are we not doing this? Why are we not allowed to do this? Now, isn't that interesting? So, going into brief history here. This is interesting because this ties into some interesting things. But Yemen, and here's an interesting sign, their freedom, the flag, and the fruit. Kind of reminds me of the symbolism of Noah. But it sounded like that it was a very amazing area. An Ethiopian is part of the history. And things started deteriorating in 1990. And then 2011, a lot of political crisis was happening. Unemployment, corruption, things of that nature. Just the corruption of politics. When you lead a place that does not involve the people, that's where this stuff happens. So obviously the power got to these world leaders' heads, and they forgot about the people. And that's why these things happen, right? You know, if you lead a country, lead a state or city, you have to be running it for the people, but not going against the people, but working with the people, understanding the people. And that's where we're going in the United States, and that's what's happening around the world. So, and that's how they stage things, right? Those people aren't rebels. They're standing up, and they look like gentle people. Nothing bad going on. So it's things like that. You gotta look at both sides of the coin, not just, oh, the United States is over there. No, you gotta look at both sides, what's going on with the people over there. So I found that interesting. But Yemen is attached with the Queen of Sheba. Before we go into that, an interesting thing that I was reading on here with the history of it was because Queen of Sheba, King Solomon, very interesting, was here. It is thought to be a biblical Sheba and was the most prominent federation. The Seba, however you say it, rulers adopted the title Merkurib, I'm going to butcher those names, generally thought to mean unifier or a priest king, or the head of the Confederation of South Arabian kingdoms, the king of the kings. The king of the kings. And with all this fighting going on over there, so we got the king of kings, we got the Red Sea, and we got peaceful people with the US and the UK stating that these guys are rebels. Oh my God. So it's interesting that all these symbolisms and words link together into a biblical story that we will look into as well. And then you look up some history about the Saba Eon, I'm butchering that name, but you got the eagle that's represented here along with the serpent. So, and you got to pay attention to the little details, the eagle and the serpent. Wasn't that interesting as well? But you can just kind of read about the history of the people there, and then all the different practices, supposedly, and then biblical nature of things over there. So it's a very historical piece of history, and there's a lot more to that area over there. So I just found that rather interesting. So go to Queen of Sheba here. So the Queen of Sheba is a figure first mentioned in the Hebrew Bible and the original story. She brings a caravan of valuable gifts to King Solomon. This account has undergone extensive Jewish, Islamic, and Yemen and Ethiopian elaborations, and has become the subject of one of the most widespread and fertile cycles of legends in Asia and Africa. So it's just very interesting. Whose name is not stated, came to Jerusalem with a very great retinue with camels bearing spices, so on and so forth. But yeah, you can check this stuff out. It's very interesting. But these are little things you look at when you see involvement with countries fighting over each other and seeing why other countries are going over there. Because at the end of the day, you don't want your empire to be ran over by people, but it's the people that make the empire. Cannot forget that, because throughout history, when people unite like this, that means an empire is falling. And when the world takes notice of this, they're like, look at this. So if we band together, then their empire falls as well. Which gets interesting, because there are some things that Trump was talking about making things more forceful with police going forward, which would stop a lot of this, which is not good. So we got to be tactical on uniting as people. Very peaceful stuff. Very peaceful. So yeah, go ahead and do some research on this stuff. Very interesting. Just don't read too much into the United States side of it, but look at both sides. So yeah, so people standing up, uniting peacefully. Alright, so second half, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's see here. Let's see what we got here. So, and I was looking up interdimensional deities. That's going to be huge. You're going to be hearing a lot of that, and that's where it ties into this Japanese thing. Interdimensional deities are going to end up being a huge conversation this year. And it's just realizing, that things that happen behind the scenes that we don't see. The shapeshifters or the deities that dwell in the nighttime, right? Behind the shadows and shapeshift. And it goes into some very interesting stuff. But we're going to go ahead and talk about Japan. So, and this is interesting. So, as it states on here, strong earthquake shook Japan with magnitude 6 out of nowhere, and that produced a light in the sky. Which, before we show that light in the sky, this shows you this earthquake. It happened on January 10th. And these earthquakes, they're a lot more than you realize. There's a lot more going on. To me, earthquakes involve time jumps or time distortions. Something shaking up reality, right? They talk about, that island underneath, and it is. Don't get me wrong, Japan will end up being underwater sooner than later. But, it could be an attack underneath Japan too, But that was interesting right there. Did you see that? That big light right there? That really sparked some interesting things. And I think that might be what we might have saw earlier, but that's where it got really interesting. And just pay attention to these little things like that. And then I will show you this after we look at, oops, there we go. This right here. Could be fake, hard to say, but as you can tell, this is around that same time frame. And we'll go right here. I was trying to find the original video. This is pretty much all I could find really quick. But as you can see, this is still around the time frame. But this is interesting here. What is that? I don't know, but something forms right there. And it's some kind of a deity of some kind, because you can see the head here, 4 legs, and then you got this interesting tail. And go ahead, we'll play it here. Oh, nope, that was pretty much it. Because we got some interesting shifts and turns. There we go. That happens here. Exactly what's going on. But you can see, actually, come to think of it, you can actually see the tail right there. Let's get my pointer here. You see the tail forming right there, and then some kind of beam, or could be something else, was right there. So that beast is coming out right there, and then that light is forming over there, and then boom, then we got that creature. And it's hard to say what this is, but to me it did spark some interesting things about the creature in Japan. So I was like, let's see if we do some research on some tales about the nine-tailed fox, and we got a 9-headed dragon as well. And 2 different stories. I think this one was a 12. This was a different story. as well. That was the Japan story, but they're very, very similar. But we got nine-headed dragon god. Is a deity that appears in folklore and legends of various parts of Japan, including, for example, what is stated above. During the Nara period, a legend arose that the nine-headed dragon had settled in lake in Hakun, which actually, where was that? I wonder where that was. I'll have to take a look and see. But and it demanded a sacrifice. Humans always seem to think that these deities need sacrifices. To appease the dragon, the villagers agreed to select a house by shooting a... Oops. Try to be careful with these words, because you get banned. A white feathered arrow and seeing where it landed. Then sacrificing the daughter of the house, a priest cursed the dragon and is said to have chained it to the upside down cedar, an underwater rock. As a result of this legend, the dragon came to be worshipped as the great god nine-headed dragon. The expression sent up a white feathered arrow has come to mean choose by lot. That's interesting too. The legend continues saying mankind saw the dragon reform and change it to a dragon king. Oh man. Also known as the dragon god. It's a Chinese water and weather god. He's regarded as a dispenser of rain. And there was rain, huh? Commanded over all the bodies of the water. That's interesting. He then built a shrine to the dragon. After this, the customary offering to the dragon changed to steamed rice and red beans, which sounds definitely a lot better than humans, doesn't it? But yeah, it's just very interesting, these tales that just surround these, and then you see things like this. It's like, oh hey, with these interdimensional beings coming in, huge, might add, like, look how big that is. These deities, people fail to understand just how big these ancient beings used to be, right? The great giants back in the day. They weren't giants. We're little people. Like humans right now are little people. It reminded me of the Goonies. Little people. We're little people that used to inhabit humongously large beings that were 100-foot, 500-foot beings and creatures. People can't fathom that, but that's the way it used to be, and that's what these dimensional beings are going to look like. And then we get to the nine-tailed fox, and to me, this is really a good representation of what we're seeing here is a nine-tailed fox. And it's interesting because there's been talks about that. I've been seeing a lot of things about the nine-tailed fox and stuff I've been watching. Things like that. But this image right here reminded me of that right there. Just with its tail, its head, its 4 feet. They looked very, very similar. To the point I'm like, just imagine that tail being up here, curled up. Nine-tailed fox all day, man. If you guys watch Japanese anime Naruto, that's what the story is there. I watched another Japanese live-action show, Kamen Rider Geats, that dealt with the nine-tailed fox as well. So this stuff is coming up for a reason. And you can read up on the nine-tailed fox and its origins, Chinese and Asian folklore, but again, this stuff all intertwines together. Foxes are depicted as spirits possessed of magic powers. These foxes are often depicted as mischievous, usually tricking other people with the ability to disguise themselves as a beautiful woman. The fox spirits is especially prolific shapeshifter, which is huge. We'll talk about that after I show you this other video. shapeshifter known variously as the Hilu Jing, a fox spirit in China. In Japan, the Kumio or the Gamiho, the nine-tailed fox. Although the specified details vary, these fox spirits can usually shapeshift, often taking the form of beautiful women who attempt to seduce men, whether for mere mischief or to consume their bodies or spirits. Which is interesting. It's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about spirits. Consuming spirits back in the day, and it's still to this very day. That goes into, what happens to our soul. What is the moon? What is Saturn? Is there a recycle mode between that? It's very, very interesting. It just keeps going on. But I found it very, very interesting. It's something to keep an eye on with this nine-tailed fox, with these creatures showing up. Very interesting. All in all, it's a very interesting video. Whether it's fake or not, it definitely sparks an interesting conversation for everything that's going on right now. Really, really bizarre. So, after that, then this is the next day, I think, or after the earthquake and everything was settled, this thing showed up. And look at this. This is a residue from opening dimensions right here. And as far as I can tell, it's not fake because of how the light is reflecting off of it. So that tells me that this is real. It was there. And this is a interdimensional distortion when you break through. So it is it is very, very interesting. So if these beings are coming out, these portals are starting to show up, and then just have these other things that have happened over time. So, and that's pretty much it for the report I found interesting. This stuff is getting more and more stranger as things go on, man. I mean, man, if you ever want to know what an interdimensional portal or residue is, that's it right there. But why this stuff isn't showing up on the news, and it probably is, it's just we can't see it. We just can't see it. But it's there, and it's definitely something to take notice of as well. I think that's pretty much it. The only other thing I wanted to talk about was, switch back here, was the conversation of shapeshifters. Is huge. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to talk about too. Man, this video always ends up being longer than I wanted to. But let me go back here. I forgot we're going to talk about Revelation real quick. But we also got the beast as well through this stuff. The beast rises out of the sea and is given authority. And this is, we're talking about the seven-headed dragon, empowered by the dragon. This first beast is mentioned as emerging from the abyss. His appearance is described in detail, some of the mysteries surround it. And it just gets really interesting. You got the second beast, the false prophet, comes out of the earth and forces everyone on earth to worship the first beast in their fight against God. The two beasts joins forces with the dragon. They persecute the saints and those who do not worship the image of the beast of the sea. So we got this beast from the sea, and it's always been an interesting talk about the sea and the creatures of the sea, right? The mysteries of the sea, the Red Sea, right? And they influence kings of the earth through three unclean spirits. And there's a hidden meaning in this, and I want to talk about that in another video. But yeah, just the beast of the sea. It's just very, very interesting. So I want to add that in there real quick. But for this last part, talking about shapeshifters. Shapeshifters is huge, and it's something that we have to start paying attention to. My dream last night had a lot to do with shapeshifters and an emperor the main emperor of this world. And I had a dream, I think it's been almost a month now, of trying to find out who this emperor is. So this emperor showed up yesterday or last night in my dream, actually this morning, and it was a shapeshifter. And throughout the whole dream, it was all about shapeshifting. It's just these different kind of beings that had different abilities. We were trying to, because I was like there, but as a different person, helping these other mythical beings that had different abilities, and we were trying to help save people that were close to us. And spirits were possessing people and taking over people that were close to us. And then it ended up getting to, which is interesting because it ties into the woman in Revelations, the woman with the child. And at the end of the dream, this was this morning, at the end of the dream, the emperor showed up where I was there with the woman. The woman was dying, and I was close to her, and the emperor was getting ready to shapeshift, so I was shapeshifting. I jumped onto the ceiling, shapeshifted into the wall, and then I jumped down, and we got rid of the emperor. I destroyed the emperor, but I thought the lady died. I was like, oh no, but then she woke back up, and she's like, hey, I'm fine, I'm here. So it's very, very powerful dream, very, very interesting, and it all ties into this as a whole with this nine-tailed fox. I feel like I've talked about this before, but yeah, this nine-tailed fox, the saving the woman from the emperor, people uniting, all this stuff we need to pay attention to. At the end of the day, it's very, very interesting stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and end on that. This video is a little longer than I wanted. But yeah, go ahead and rewatch this stuff. Very interesting stuff to research and look into. So that is the Global Weekly Report for this week. And we'll see what transpires throughout the week as well. So love yourself. Keep shining bright. I'll talk to y'all later.